Hello, and thank you for tuning in to our international news broadcast. Right now, let's review the top stories currently capturing global attention.
Event number 1. Large fires burned Iran's capital Tehran after an attack from Israel. Event number 2. The Russian air defense system in Iran revealed weaknesses seen in the Ukrainian battlefield. Event number 3. Russia is accused of secretly providing military intelligence to Iran to deal with the U.S. and Israel.
And now, for the details.
Massive fires broke out in Iran's capital on Sunday following precise Israeli strikes on oil infrastructure. According to the Associated Press, Iranian authorities reported that overnight Israeli airstrikes on 4 oil tankers and a petroleum transit station killed 4 people. Witnesses in Tehran said the smoke was so thick it looked as if the sun had not yet risen. The Israeli military claimed these oil depots were being used by the Iranian army to fuel missile launches. The Iranian Red Crescent Society stated that approximately 10,000 civilian structures across the country have been damaged, including homes, schools, and nearly 3 dozen medical facilities. The agency also warned Tehran residents to take precautions against toxic air pollution and the risk of acid rain following the Israeli airstrikes. As the Israeli-attacked oil depots continued to smolder in Tehran, prompting environmental warnings for residents, Iran's president vowed to expand attacks on U.S. targets across the region on the 9th day of the war. Iran's air defense systems are proving ineffective in their efforts to counter U.S. and Israeli missile attacks. Systems from the Soviet Union and its Kremlin ally, Russia, have become outdated and completely inferior, which became evident just days into the war. This was the assessment of Alexander Kovalenko, a military political observer for the Information Resistance Group, speaking on Radio NV. The expert noted that Iran's airspace is wide open to attacks. Media sources recalled that while the U.S. Air Force deploys F-15s and F-35s to strike targets with Tomahawk missiles, their Iranian adversaries are using Russian modernized Soviet-era air defense systems that have been consistently and decisively defeated by the armed forces of Ukraine. Kovalenko concluded that they are obsolete both morally and technically, adding that the Iranian Air Force deserves a similar assessment. The rudimentary nature of Iran's air defense systems was demonstrated by a series of U.S. military strikes that resulted in the destruction of at least 4 surface-to-air missile launchers by missiles and bombs. A video of the attack was posted on the U.S. Central Command's account on the social media platform X. Videos showing the interception of Iranian ballistic missiles, which Tehran continues to use against Gulf nations, suggest they may have been upgraded by Russian experts. A recently filmed video in Qatar showed about 15 Patriot missiles being deployed against an attack. Meanwhile, there were only 3 or 4 successful interceptions of Iranian ballistic missiles, with clearly visible mid-air explosions, rather than the missiles self-destructing. Furthermore, 1 ballistic missile interception occurred at a rather low altitude. If the calculations are correct, using up to 5 interceptors per ballistic missile exceeds the maximum engagement standard even for the most complex targets, whereas the norm is 2. There are also videos showing Patriot missiles missing their targets, particularly in Bahrain. A similar situation occurred in Qatar when the U.S. Al Udeid Air Base was attacked on the night of February 28th. Although 3 Patriot missiles were launched, the Iranian ballistic missile was not intercepted. At the same time, no footage shows any attempts to overcome the missile defense system, such as through decoys or active maneuvering, which would require extensive upgrades or entirely new ballistic missiles. Nevertheless, Iran's missiles continue to penetrate missile defenses or require a significantly higher number of interceptors. Meanwhile, this situation is common among Patriot operating units, suggesting the skill level of the crews is not in question. As a reminder, the Washington Post reported on Friday that Russia has been assisting Iran in its war with the U.S. and Israel by providing intelligence on the locations of American military assets in the Middle East. The report cited U.S. officials familiar with the details. Meanwhile, experienced Ukrainian military personnel are expected to arrive soon in the Gulf region to help nations there counter Iranian drone attacks, a senior Ukrainian official told AFP. Since the U.S. and Israel launched their opening attack on Iran on Saturday, sources say Russia has provided Iran with the locations of several U.S. military assets, including warships and aircraft. Russia may be providing covert support to Iran in its confrontation with the United States in the Middle East, according to the Washington Post, citing multiple sources. Moscow is providing Tehran with intelligence that helps the Iranian military locate U.S. forces. According to the publication's sources, the Russian side is allegedly sharing information on the locations of U.S. military installations, including ships and aircraft in the region. One source noted that this could be a fairly large-scale intelligence sharing operation. The precise extent of that assistance has yet to be determined. According to the paper's sources, since the current conflict began, Iran's ability to independently track U.S. force movements has been significantly degraded, so external intelligence could be playing a key role in planning attacks. Dara Masakot, a Russian military expert at the Carnegie Endowment, noted that Iran has recently launched relatively precise attacks on early warning systems. She believes this could be due to Tehran receiving satellite imagery from external sources. Iran has only a few military satellites and lacks its own formal orbital satellite constellation, so external data significantly improves the accuracy of its attacks. One of the publication's sources suggested that Russia might be retaliating in this manner for U.S. support to Ukraine in its war against Moscow. However, there is still no official confirmation of this information. The Russian embassy in the U.S. did not respond to journalists' questions, and representatives from the CIA and the Pentagon declined to comment. The sources also asserted that China, despite its close ties with Iran, is not believed to be providing military or intelligence support to Tehran in the current conflict. However, Iran itself has recently hinted that it is receiving support from both Russia and China. U.S. President Donald Trump reprimanded a Fox News reporter for asking a stupid question about reports that Russia is sharing intelligence with Iran to help target Americans. Pete Hegseth, the U.S. Secretary of Defense, suggested that Trump was aware of Russia's role and has a talent for knowing how to mitigate those risks. He did not specify whether Trump had confronted Vladimir Putin about aiding Iran, but Russia has provided Iran with information that could help Tehran attack U.S. warships, aircraft, and other assets in the region, according to two officials familiar with U.S. intelligence on the matter. These officials, who were not authorized to comment publicly on the sensitive matter and spoke on the condition of anonymity, cautioned that U.S. intelligence has not detected Russia directly telling Iran what to do with the information, as the U.S. and Israel continue their bombing campaigns and Iran fires retaliatory barrages at U.S. assets and allies in the Gulf. Nevertheless, this is the first indication that Moscow has sought to interfere in the war the U.S. and Israel launched against Iran a week ago.